In times of desperation, when it seems like there is no hope left, when every door has been closed and the weight of the world feels unbearable, there is a divine intercessor who stands ready to offer you a miraculous touch. This is the power of Saint Anthony of Padua. Welcome to Timeless Prayer. The story of Judith and her daughter, a tale of faith that defied all odds, is just one example of how this humble saint continues to work wonders in the lives of those who place their trust in him. In her hour of greatest need, with the doctors declaring her daughter's fate sealed, Judith did not succumb to despair. Instead, she turned to the time-honored prayer, passed down through generations, a prayer that would unlock the miraculous power of Saint Anthony and change everything in a matter of hours. This prayer, learned from her grandmother and now shared with you, carries with it a deep spiritual wisdom, one that transcends time and connects us to the sacred traditions of our faith. If you are among those who have prayed without seeing a result, or if you have ever wondered why some receive miracles while others wait endlessly, the answer lies in the way you approach the divine, in the faith and preparation that you bring to your prayer. Saint Anthony is not simply the patron saint of lost things. He is the saint of the impossible, the one who stands as a beacon of hope in moments of utter darkness. He is the advocate for those facing life's greatest trials, a heavenly intercessor who responds most powerfully in desperate situations, when the odds are insurmountable and human efforts have been exhausted. Many of us, in our pain and longing, may turn to Saint Anthony without fully understanding the depth of his spiritual gifts. We may pray without knowing the profound way in which his intercession works. But Saint Anthony's intervention is not merely a matter of chance or fate. It is the result of knowing how to approach him in prayer, with the right heart, in the right moment, and with the understanding of what truly moves heaven to act. This is not about superstition or magic. This is about divine grace, which flows through those who approach it with humility, faith, and trust. The power of this prayer lies in its simplicity and in the profound spiritual preparation that precedes it. It is not about asking for trivial things or material wealth, but rather about placing your deepest, most desperate needs before God, trusting that Saint Anthony's intercession will bridge the gap between the earthly and the divine. Just as Joseph, the young soldier trapped in Korea in 1946, was saved by the intercession of Saint Anthony when his life seemed all but lost, so too can you experience divine intervention in your own life. In Joseph's moment of need, he recited the prayer his grandmother had taught him, and within the hour, an American patrol found him in terrain that had already been searched twice. Such miracles are not isolated incidents, but rather the continuing work of Saint Anthony, who remains a powerful force of grace and divine action in the world today. The key to unlocking the full power of this prayer lies in understanding three essential elements: timing, intention, and preparation. Saint Anthony responds most powerfully when approached during specific moments of the day, particularly during the stillness of the night, when the world is quiet and the veil between heaven and earth is thinnest. These sacred moments align with the rhythm of prayer that Saint Anthony himself followed in his earthly life. In addition, the intention behind the prayer is vital. Saint Anthony's intercession is reserved for those who face genuine crises, health emergencies, family emergencies, situations where human effort has reached its limit. It is not for those seeking selfish gain, but for those whose hearts are truly desperate and in need of divine assistance. Finally, preparation is key. The heart must be properly prepared through acts of faith, such as confession, fasting, and charity. This preparation is not about earning God's favor, but rather about creating the spiritual conditions in which grace can flow freely. This principle of preparation is illustrated by the story of Margaret, a teacher from Ohio whose son had gone missing for 6 days. Despite the best efforts of the police and community search parties, her son had not been found. In her despair, Margaret turned to her neighbor, Rosa, an elderly Italian woman who knew the ancient prayer to Saint Anthony. Together, they knelt in prayer, repeating the prayer 3 times and committing to pray throughout the night. At 4:17 a.m., Margaret received the call that her son had been found, unharmed, but with no memory of the past 6 days except for a recurring dream of a man in brown robes telling him to wait because help was on its way. This story is not just about a prayer answered. It is a testament to how Saint Anthony not only finds lost things, but protects them while they are lost. He orchestrates circumstances in ways that defy human understanding, and when you pray to him with genuine faith, you are not simply asking for help, you are inviting divine intervention into your life. In moments of hopelessness, when you feel that all is lost, when the world is too heavy to carry, remember that Saint Anthony is your advocate, your heavenly intercessor who has been entrusted with the grace to perform miracles. He is not just a saint of lost things, he is a saint of miracles, a powerful intercessor for those who are desperate for change, for healing, for divine intervention. When you approach him with faith, trust, and a heart prepared for grace, you will experience the power of his intercession in ways that transcend understanding. You will witness miracles unfold in your life, just as countless others have throughout history, and you will feel the peace that comes from knowing you are not alone. Place your trust in Saint Anthony and wait for the miracle you've been praying for. Your faith, your patience, and your trust will not be in vain. The divine intervention you seek is closer than you think, waiting to transform your life in ways that only heaven can. Many Catholics believe that prayers in Latin hold a unique power, connecting us with centuries of faithful believers who have used these sacred words to ask for divine intervention. But it's essential to understand that simply reciting these words is not enough. Miracles don't happen just because we speak them. They require true sincerity. Saint Anthony of Padua, known for his powerful intercession, calls for more than a casual request. He seeks genuine faith and a heart that is ready for transformation. If you're approaching Saint Anthony for a miracle, you must first prepare your heart and spirit, as he desires to see if you truly believe in the power of prayer. This preparation begins with confession. If it's been a while since you last went to confession, make this a priority. Not that God will not hear your prayers, but sin creates a barrier between your soul and heaven, and it may prevent the flow of divine grace. Confession clears this path, setting you up for the miraculous intervention you're seeking. In addition to confession, fasting is a powerful tool in preparing for this prayer. This doesn't mean you have to give up all food, but if you are able, fast for 24 hours before you pray. Fasting is an ancient spiritual practice that signifies sacrifice. It's not just about giving something up. It's about showing God that you're serious about your request, that you're willing to sacrifice something for the miracle you're asking for. Alongside fasting, almsgiving plays a key role. Saint Anthony was known for his generosity to the poor, and when you give, whether it's money, food, or even your time, you align your heart with his compassion. The amount isn't what matters most, but the sacrifice involved. When you give from your heart, you show that you are ready to receive God's grace, not as a transaction but as an alignment with the values of the saint you are petitioning. Consider the inspiring story of Carmen from Mexico City, who reached out to share her experience with this prayer. Her husband had been in a coma for 3 weeks following a severe construction accident. Doctors told her to prepare for the worst. Desperate, Carmen turned to Saint Anthony and began her preparation process. She went to confession, fasted for 36 hours, and gave away her husband's tools to a local charity helping unemployed men. Then, one Tuesday night, she lit a white candle at midnight, began her prayer, and repeated it 3 times, just as instructed. She prayed every hour until dawn. The next morning, when she arrived at the hospital, she was shocked to find her husband awake, asking for water. The doctors couldn't explain his miraculous recovery. His brain scans were clear, and just 4 days later, he was discharged, completely healed. Carmen's experience was not just about praying a powerful prayer. It was about creating the right spiritual environment for Saint Anthony's intervention. She didn't view her prayer as a last-ditch effort, but rather as a sincere request to a powerful intercessor who demands reverence and preparation. There's another aspect of miracles that you may find surprising. Sometimes, Saint Anthony doesn't answer prayers in the way we expect. We often ask for something specific, but what we receive can be even greater than what we imagined. Take the story of Father Michael from Boston, diagnosed with terminal cancer. He prayed the St. Anthony prayer for healing, following all the necessary steps of preparation. But instead of physical healing, he received something unexpected, a profound sense of peace and the complete absence of fear. He lived for 8 more months, but those months were filled with spiritual richness. He led many to faith, reconciled with estranged family members, and prepared for his death with such grace that his funeral became a celebration of his life in Christ. Father Michael's story teaches us that miracles can come in forms beyond our expectations. Sometimes the miracle is not in the outcome, but in the peace and transformation that accompany it. Was it a miracle? Absolutely. It might not have been the miracle he specifically asked for, but it was the miracle he truly needed. Saint Anthony, with his divine foresight, saw beyond the immediate physical request and into the deeper spiritual needs of the heart. And this is what makes turning to him so powerful. You must come to him with faith, ready to trust that his intercession will bring about God's will, even when that doesn't align with your human understanding of what should be. You must be prepared to trust in his wisdom, knowing that God sees things from a perspective far broader and more perfect than our own limited view. Saint Anthony guides us to understand that what we ask for in our prayers may not always align with what we need, but God's will, as carried out through the saint's intercession, will always lead us to something better. This is why you are encouraged to think of a time in your life when you did not receive exactly what you prayed for, but later realized that in the long run, what you did receive was far more beneficial. These stories remind us of the immense truth that God's perspective far surpasses our own, and that saints like Saint Anthony, with their deep connection to divine wisdom, can help us to view our situations through the eyes of heaven. And while such moments may bring a sense of disappointment at first, over time they reveal the beauty of God's divine plan at work, even when it doesn't match our own expectations. In this way, St. Anthony's intercession helps to reshape our understanding of prayer and the results it brings. The prayer itself is simple, surprisingly so. It is not laden with theological complexities or long, drawn-out petitions. Instead, it is a straightforward appeal to Saint Anthony's remarkable ability to intercede on behalf of those in desperate need. The power of this prayer does not lie in the specific words, but rather in the faith and readiness with which it is offered. It is an invitation to surrender oneself fully, trusting that Saint Anthony will bring your request before the throne of God, who always answers in perfect timing and in ways beyond our comprehension. And that is where the beauty of St. Anthony's intercession lies. Not in an expectation of a dramatic, immediate miracle, but in a deeper understanding that miracles often manifest in subtle, sometimes unexpected ways. They are not always supernatural events or grand spectacles. Instead, they appear as quiet shifts in circumstances, as divine alignments in the midst of seemingly ordinary events. St. Anthony's power to bring about miracles works through the natural world, organizing people, situations, and opportunities in ways that seem beyond mere coincidence. As he works behind the scenes, arranging what seems impossible in the human eye, you will begin to notice the gentle hand of God moving through the fabric of your life. Consider the story of Robert, a businessman from Chicago. For weeks, his company had been teetering on the edge of bankruptcy, and despite praying St. Anthony's prayer, Robert had seen no sign of a miracle. On the verge of giving up, he prayed one more time, with complete surrender to God's will. The very next day, a man entered his office claiming to be a potential investor. This man was not someone Robert had ever met, nor had he been seeking investors. Yet, this stranger presented the exact solution to save his company. The miracle, however, was not in the appearance of instant wealth or a sudden cash influx. It was in the perfect alignment of events. The investor appeared at just the right moment, and Robert learned that this connection had been initiated through a nun who had been praying for struggling businesses. This is how St. Anthony works, not through spectacular interventions, but through the intricate and precise weaving together of the natural world, ensuring that the right people meet at the right time, and doors open that would otherwise remain shut. It's a miracle not of dramatic displays, but of divine orchestration. The unique gift that St. Anthony possesses to arrange such miracles has its roots in his own life story. As a deeply devoted servant of God, St. Anthony experienced a mystical encounter with the Christ child while praying in his cell. This profound experience gave him an extraordinary insight into God's will and an unparalleled ability to intercede on behalf of others. His mission in life was to help lost souls find their way back to God, to rescue those who had wandered from the faith, and to bring them back to salvation. This same mission continues in his heavenly state, where he uses his gifts to help us find not only lost things, but also lost hope and lost direction in our lives. This ability of St. Anthony to bring about miracles doesn't defy the laws of nature. Rather, it works through them. St. Anthony brings about divine transformation by subtly shifting the natural course of events, orchestrating opportunities that wouldn't otherwise exist. So, while you may be looking for an answer in the form of a grand, visible miracle, remember that St. Anthony's miracles often arrive in unexpected ways. They arrive in small divine shifts in circumstances that guide you toward the help, healing, or breakthrough you need. It's important to remember, too, that St. Anthony's miracles are not always instant. They require patience, persistence, and faith. Just like he prayed and prayed, waiting for God's perfect response, you must continue to pray with dedication, knowing that in God's timing, your prayers will be answered. And while waiting, it is crucial to stay alert to the signs of divine intervention. The answers to your prayers might not look like what you expected, but through St. Anthony's intercession, they will always be the right answers for you. So trust in the power of this prayer and the intercession of St. Anthony to bring you the miracle you need, and be ready to receive it, whether it's in the form you anticipated or one that exceeds your wildest dreams. When you turn to St. Anthony of Padua, you do so with the deep hope and faith that he will intercede on your behalf, bringing about the miracle you need. But there's an important aspect to this prayer that goes beyond simply asking for divine help. It involves making a promise to Saint Anthony, which isn't about bargaining with God or attempting to bribe heaven. Rather, it's about showing your sincere intention to live a more faithful life should your prayer be answered. This promise establishes a spiritual contract between you and the saint, and it is crucial to honor it fully if the miracle you've prayed for comes to pass. The promise consists of 3 parts that help guide you in living a life of faith and service. First, commit to living a life more pleasing to God. This doesn't mean being perfect, but it does mean making a genuine effort to align your life with the teachings of the Catholic faith. It involves regular prayer, participating in the sacraments, and avoiding serious sin. It's about growing in holiness with sincerity in your heart. Secondly, promise to increase your charity toward others. This isn't just about material help, but also offering spiritual support. Feed the hungry, clothe the naked, visit the sick, comfort the sorrowful, and offer prayers for the living and the dead. Saint Anthony was known for his great love for the poor and his patient teaching of the faith, and following his example in these ways is a beautiful way to honor his intercession. Lastly, pledge to spread devotion to Saint Anthony. Share your experience with others. Pass on prayer cards or support churches in his name. The saint delights in being known and loved by more people, and those who help increase his devotion are often rewarded with special blessings. These promises are not taken lightly, and when you remain faithful to them, you may witness incredible miracles and blessings in your life. Take, for example, the story of Teresa from the Philippines. She prayed fervently to Saint Anthony for her son, who had struggled with a drug addiction for 5 years. She made the threefold promise with complete sincerity, and within 2 weeks, her son agreed to enter a rehabilitation program, something he had stubbornly refused for years. During his recovery, Teresa faithfully kept her promises, attending daily Mass, volunteering at a soup kitchen, and distributing Saint Anthony prayer cards. Her son successfully completed the program and has been clean for 3 years. But here's where the story becomes even more extraordinary. Through Teresa's dedication to her promises, her husband, who had been away from the church for 20 years, returned to Mass. He was so moved by the changes in their lives and the obvious blessings upon their family that he sought reconciliation with the sacraments. Their marriage, which had been struggling, was renewed and strengthened. Teresa's story is a beautiful example of how keeping promises to Saint Anthony can lead to blessings beyond what we originally asked for. The saint often rewards faithfulness with continued care and protection, and those who honor their commitments find themselves under his loving intercession for years to come. Once your prayer has been answered, it is essential to express gratitude to Saint Anthony for his intercession. Gratitude is an essential part of the spiritual life, and saints appreciate being acknowledged for their help. The traditional way to thank Saint Anthony is by having a Mass said in his honor, making a donation to a church or charity in his name, or performing an act of service for others. You can also visit a church dedicated to him, lighting candles and spending time in prayer before his statue or relic. Many pilgrims travel to Padua, Italy, where his tomb is located, and where countless miracles have been reported, to show their thanks. The important thing is that your gratitude is expressed through action, not merely words. Consider the story of David from Australia, whose daughter was born with a severe heart defect requiring multiple surgeries. Before her 3rd surgery, David prayed the Saint Anthony prayer with complete faith and proper preparation. The surgery went remarkably well, and his daughter made a full recovery. David kept his promise by organizing an annual fundraiser for children's heart research, raising over $500,000 for medical research and supporting families facing similar challenges. This fundraiser has become a celebration of St. Anthony's intercession, with prayer services, testimonials, and educational talks about his life and miracles. David's daughter, now a healthy teenager, helps organize these events and plans to study medicine so that she can continue helping children with heart problems. David credits St. Anthony with not only healing his daughter, but also giving him a new sense of purpose in life. David's story shows how one miracle can have a ripple effect, blessing others in ways you may not have imagined. When we honor our promises to St. Anthony, we become instruments of grace for others, and our personal miracles become part of a larger pattern of divine intervention in the world. Reflect on your own life. Have you ever experienced how one blessing led to more opportunities to bless others? These stories remind us that miracles aren't just for personal gain. They are meant to increase faith and spread God's love throughout the world. So, as you turn to St. Anthony in your time of need, remember the promise you make and the powerful ways that keeping it can transform not just your life, but the lives of those around you. Trust in St. Anthony's intercession, wait for your miracle, and know that as you remain faithful to your promises, more blessings and opportunities will come, allowing you to share the love and grace you've received. When you find yourself in the midst of suffering or in a situation that seems hopeless, know that there is help ready and waiting for you. St. Anthony of Padua is a powerful intercessor who has worked countless miracles, bringing peace, healing, and transformation to those who call on him with genuine faith. Whether you are facing a dire medical condition, financial hardship, or any form of distress, this prayer is a beacon of hope that can guide you through even the darkest of times. In moments of uncertainty, when you feel overwhelmed, turn to St. Anthony and trust in his unwavering ability to help. His intercession is a gift from God, one that brings divine grace and comfort to all who earnestly seek it. Remember, your faith and persistence are key. St. Anthony's intercession is particularly powerful at specific times. His feast day, June 13th, is a day when his miraculous power shines brightly. However, there is another sacred time when his help is especially potent: Tuesdays. This is his traditional day, a time when countless prayers are answered and miracles unfold. Many people have found solace in the practice of starting a novena, a 9-day period of dedicated prayer, on a Tuesday. During these 9 days, you are not just repeating the same prayer. You are committing yourself to a deeper relationship with St. Anthony. With each day, as you repeat the prayer and reflect on his life, you are strengthening your connection with him and deepening your trust in his ability to bring about change. And while a single prayer can carry power, the extended commitment of 9 days demonstrates your perseverance and your willingness to open your heart to God's will. Consider the story of Patricia, a nurse from Canada whose mother was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer. Patricia turned to St. Anthony in her desperation, starting a novena to seek healing for her mother. She prayed the prayer 3 times a day for 9 consecutive days, fasted on Tuesdays and Fridays, and even volunteered at a local cancer support group. Her faith was tested. There was no immediate answer to her prayers, but Patricia continued with unwavering devotion. On the 9th day of her novena, something miraculous happened. Her mother's doctor called with unexpected news. The latest tests showed no trace of cancer in her body. The doctor was baffled, admitting that he had no explanation for the disappearance of the tumors. Patricia's mother lived for 8 more healthy years, becoming a devoted follower of St. Anthony and sharing her healing story with others, helping them to trust in the saint's intercession. This case illustrates how Saint Anthony's miracles often unfold in unexpected ways, sometimes gradually, sometimes instantaneously, but always in ways that increase our faith and deepen our devotion. Saint Anthony's miracles are not merely supernatural events, they work in harmony with the natural world. He does not act in ways that violate the laws of nature. Instead, he brings forth a hidden order of divine possibility that we cannot always see. It is within this divine framework that Saint Anthony works, aligning the spiritual readiness of the person praying, the divine will, and the natural circumstances that must come together for a miracle to manifest. This is why some prayers are answered swiftly while others take time. You may not see immediate results, but that does not mean Saint Anthony is not working on your behalf. Sometimes, the answer to your prayer comes when you least expect it, just when you are about to give up. Saint Anthony's intercession will bring a breakthrough, as if he were testing your perseverance, teaching you to trust in God's perfect timing. Think of Miguel, a construction worker from Texas who was facing an incredibly difficult time in his life. He had been unemployed for 6 months. His wife was pregnant with their 3rd child, and they were on the verge of losing their home. In his despair, Miguel began praying the St. Anthony prayer every day, holding on to faith despite the lack of immediate change. Week after week, no job offers came, and his patience began to wear thin. Yet, Miguel never stopped praying. On what he thought would be his last day in the apartment, he received a call offering him a new job, one that paid even better than his previous position. The connection that led to the job was so improbable that Miguel couldn't help but recognize Saint Anthony's guiding hand in orchestrating the circumstances. The opportunity came through a chain of relationships, one that began with a man he had helped move furniture 2 years earlier. This is the beauty of Saint Anthony's intercession. He works through the natural world, arranging events and relationships in ways that seem random but are, in fact, divinely inspired. When you pray to Saint Anthony, remember that you are not simply asking for a favor. You are entering into a sacred relationship with him, one based on trust, devotion, and sincere faith. Saint Anthony delights in helping those who turn to him with an open heart. He is not a mere mediator between you and God. He is a companion, a guide who understands your struggles and wants to help you overcome them. His miracles often bring not just immediate relief, but a lasting transformation in the lives of those who witness or receive them. It is through this relationship with Saint Anthony that you will find not just answers to your prayers, but a deeper connection to the divine. If you are serious about seeking Saint Anthony's help, consider embracing some of the devotional practices that have been associated with him for centuries. Pray the Rosary while reflecting on his life and miracles. Read his writings, which are filled with spiritual wisdom. Visit churches dedicated to him, especially on his feast day or on Tuesdays. Many people also find comfort in carrying a St. Anthony medal or keeping a prayer card with his image. These physical tokens are not magical, but they serve as reminders to keep St. Anthony close in your heart and mind. The saint appreciates being honored in these traditional ways, as they reflect your devotion and your commitment to building a relationship with him. Never forget that you are never alone in your struggles. Saint Anthony is with you, guiding you and praying for you. With patience, perseverance, and faith, you will begin to see the miracles that come from his intercession. Keep praying, keep hoping, and trust that, just as he has helped countless others, Saint Anthony is ready to help you see it too. In times of deep despair and when all hope seems lost, turn to Saint Anthony of Padua, the Saint of Miracles, with a heart full of faith, with unwavering trust. We call upon his intercession, knowing that no situation is too impossible for His divine help. Let us pray. A prayer to Saint Anthony of Padua for miraculous intercession. O blessed Saint Anthony of Padua, you who were known for your miraculous powers and the abundant grace that flowed through your intercession, I come before you today in the deepest humility and faith, seeking your help in my time of desperation, when the weight of the world bears down upon me and the path before me seems too dark to navigate. I turn to you, Saint Anthony, with an open heart and a soul that longs for divine intervention. I know that with you by my side, no situation is too impossible, no prayer too great to be answered. Please listen to my plea and present my needs before the throne of our Heavenly Father. O Saint Anthony, patron of miracles, advocate of the hopeless, you who have been a guiding light for countless souls, I place my trust in you. You are the one who has healed the sick, found the lost, and guided the weary. You know the depths of suffering, and in your humility and love, you intercede for those in need. Just as you once turned to Christ with deep faith and trust, I ask you to take my prayer and carry it with the same devotion before God's merciful heart. You have shown time and time again that no prayer is unheard, no cry for help is ignored. In your life, you did not shy away from suffering, but in every trial, you showed the world the power of God's love to work miracles. Your steadfastness in prayer, your deep humility, and your compassionate heart made you a vessel of God's grace. And now, from your heavenly place, you continue to intercede on behalf of all who seek divine intervention in their lives. Saint Anthony, I come before you in my moment of need, trusting that your powerful intercession will help me. I present to you my deepest petitions and my most urgent desires, asking that you intercede on my behalf before God's throne. In your wisdom, you know the desires of my heart, and in your boundless compassion, you understand the depth of my struggles. I ask you, through your intercession, to bring about the miracles that I so desperately seek. Prayer for guidance and strength. O Saint Anthony, help me to recognize God's will in my life. When I am lost, help me find the way. When the world seems full of uncertainty and confusion, grant me clarity. Lead me to the answers that I seek. Whether they are of the mind or of the heart, help me to trust in God's divine timing and never lose hope. Even when things seem impossible, I know that nothing is impossible for God, and with your intercession, I place my trust fully in His grace. I pray, Saint Anthony, that I may be granted the strength to endure. There are moments when the pain feels unbearable, when the weight of my circumstances threatens to consume me. But I know that in your life, you too endured suffering, yet never lost your faith. Help me to follow your example and place my trust in God's unfailing love, even in the darkest moments. Help me to trust that His plan for me is greater than anything I could imagine, and to surrender myself to His will with full confidence. Saint Anthony, I ask you to help me overcome my fears. It is in times of great difficulty that our hearts are often gripped by fear, doubt, and despair. But you, Saint Anthony, have shown us that God's love is greater than any fear. You have helped those who felt abandoned, those who felt as though there was no hope. Through your intercession, help me to have faith that God will provide, just as He has provided for so many others through your holy intercession. Prayer for healing. O Saint Anthony, you are known for your miraculous healings, and I ask you now to intercede for me in my time of physical or emotional pain. Whether I am suffering in body or spirit, I turn to you for healing. Through your prayers, I ask for the grace of recovery, for the restoration of my health, and for the strength to carry on. I know that healing comes in God's time, and I trust that with your intercession, I will receive the strength I need to overcome this trial. I also ask, Saint Anthony, that you bring peace to my soul, for those who suffer in spirit, who carry burdens that cannot be seen. I ask you to intercede and bring peace and comfort, heal the wounds of my heart and mind, and grant me the serenity to accept what I cannot change and the courage to change what I can. Help me to embrace the healing power of God's love, and through your prayers, let His grace flow freely in my life. Prayer for help in times of crisis. Saint Anthony, you were the saint of the lost, the helpless, and those who find themselves in the most dire of circumstances. In my own moments of crisis, when the world around me seems to fall apart, I turn to you for help. You have answered countless prayers in times of hopelessness, bringing miraculous results when all seemed lost. I ask you to intercede on my behalf, that God may send His grace into my life and bring about a resolution to my problems. Whether I am facing financial difficulties, a crisis in my health, a broken relationship, or the uncertainty of an uncertain future, I place my trust in your intercession. I know that you are the powerful advocate of those who are in dire need of assistance, and I turn to you with full confidence that you will bring my prayer before God's throne of mercy. Please, Saint Anthony, help me to find a solution, to receive the strength I need to navigate my challenges, and to have faith that God's will is at work in my life. Prayer for spiritual guidance and transformation. Saint Anthony, I ask that you guide me on my spiritual journey. Help me to grow in my faith and become a true disciple of Christ. You are known for your deep love for God, your profound spirituality, and your unwavering commitment to His Word. Through your prayers, help me to grow in holiness and to lead a life that is pleasing to God. Strengthen my relationship with Him, and help me to follow the path that He has set before me. Teach me to pray with a sincere heart and to live out my faith with courage and dedication. In your humility, you are always focused on bringing others to Christ, to healing and restoring their relationships with God. Help me to do the same in my own life, to bring others closer to Christ through my actions, my words, and my prayers. Teach me to be compassionate, to serve others with a pure heart, and to seek Christ in those around me, especially those who are suffering or in need. Saint Anthony, I ask that you help me to recognize the miracles that surround me every day. We often wait for the grand, dramatic miracle, but you have taught us that God's grace often manifests in the small, quiet moments of our lives. Help me to be patient, to trust in God's perfect timing, and to recognize the blessings He has already bestowed upon me. Through your intercession, may my eyes be opened to the divine order and grace that works through the natural world. Prayer of gratitude. Saint Anthony, I offer my deepest gratitude for the intercession you have already given me, even now, as I wait for the miracle I have prayed for. I thank you for your guidance, your prayers, and your help. I know that God has already begun His work in my life, and I trust that He will answer my prayer in the way that is best for me. Thank you for being my advocate, for hearing my cries, and for always standing with me in faith. Please help me to remain faithful, to trust in God's will, and to continue to live a life of gratitude and service. I know that when my prayer is answered, I will dedicate myself to honoring the promises I have made. I will give thanks through my actions, by living a life of faith, charity, and devotion, and by spreading devotion to you and to God's miraculous power. Saint Anthony, thank you for your unwavering intercession. Thank you for being the powerful advocate of all who turn to you in faith. Please continue to pray for me, and may I always remain faithful to God's will, trusting in His divine plan for my life. I make this prayer in full trust, with humility, and with a heart prepared for the grace that flows from God through your intercession. Prayer for perseverance and patience. Saint Anthony, as I wait for the miraculous answer to my prayer, help me to remember that true faith is tested by patience and perseverance. The Lord's timing is not our own, and in moments of waiting, it is easy to lose hope or become disheartened. Teach me to wait with a heart full of trust, knowing that God's plan for me is unfolding, even when I do not see it. Give me the courage to stand firm in my faith and the strength to hold on through the challenges that come. Help me to endure, Saint Anthony, and to trust that every moment of waiting is an opportunity to grow closer to God. Remind me that while I may not always understand the reasons behind my trials, I can always find comfort in knowing that God sees everything clearly. His wisdom is far greater than mine, and His timing is always perfect. When I feel my strength fading, grant me the grace to hold on, to keep praying, and to trust that He is always with me. Prayer for divine alignment. Saint Anthony, as I place my trust in your intercession, help me to align my desires and intentions with the divine will of God. Let my prayers reflect my deepest desires for spiritual growth, healing, and transformation, rather than seeking mere worldly rewards. Teach me to surrender my own understanding of what I think is best for me and to embrace the mysterious, yet perfect, plan God has for my life. Guide me to seek not just answers to my problems, but the grace to grow in holiness and virtue, regardless of the outcomes. Help me to recognize that the true miracle lies not only in the resolution of my struggles, but in my transformation into a more faithful and loving disciple of Christ. Through your intercession, may I find peace in knowing that God's will is always working in the background, orchestrating everything for my good, even when it feels uncertain. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.